Well, hello there. This is D, and welcome to episode 136 of the Benzo Free Podcast. I'm coming to you from my completely cluttered basement on my studio mic, and I got a dog over there making probably a little background noise. You might hear Murphy has got a bone he's decided to work on, and he's hanging out with me. I'm running solo today. My wife is up visiting her mom and doing things like that since she lost her dad. A lot of visits up there and spending time with her mom, which is great. But that allows me a little bit of free time to talk to you all. I haven't been on here for a long time. I could say, as I've said many times, that sorry I've been gone, and that's about to change, and and I'm all geared up now and ready to go. But I wouldn't believe me if I were you. So I think the only way to knock that one out is to show you by producing more content and have things coming up. And I think the thing that's different this time is that the reason I haven't been talking to you too much, if you hear that noise in the background, that is my dog chewing on the bone. So just so you know what that is, I'm just going to leave it in. But the reason why I haven't been on for a while isn't a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. And that's before I've taken all these breaks and stuff, because I've had just too much going on between the loss of people around me, my own condition, my nerve pain, everything else, just things kept falling apart. And so I took a lot of time off just trying to figure myself out and get myself feeling better. But things are looking up. Sometimes things go your way, and that's kind of cool. So I'm actually coming to you to let you know that I'm doing better. I'm doing a lot better, although I don't always trust it, and I think we should chat on that for a little bit. But I'm doing better, and this is going to be more upbeat. And also, the reason I haven't been on here for a month or two or whatever since the last one I recorded is because I'm working nonstop on our new community site, and that I'm pumped up about. And I'm going to talk briefly on that and tease that a little bit. So I'll cover that a little bit today and just talk about some things, talk about some symptoms, what I've gone through, talk about how we deal with things when we get that window, how we deal with things, when the wave stops and the window comes, which you think, the light comes out and the rainbows across up. There's my phone getting NFL updates. See, it's football day. Sorry, I'll mute that. Didn't know that was going to come through. But my Kansas City Chiefs play today in a couple hours, although of course I don't get to see the game because I am out of market being in Colorado. So I don't get to see my Chiefs play. About a third of the games I don't get to see, which is a bummer. I mean, I could pay exorbitant fees. My gosh, was it hundreds and hundreds of dollars to get, Sunday ticket or other ways to do it, but I think I have NFL Plus, and I'll listen to it on the radio or whatever. Anyway, you don't need to know all that, but I do have my Chiefs flag hanging out here in my neighborhood north of Denver, Colorado, which is totally Bronco country, and I'm wearing my Chiefs T-shirt, so I'm all in. And that's one thing I wanted to talk about too, and that's I look forward to this time, and this isn't about sports. For those of you who aren't football fans, don't worry, I'm not diving into why football's great. I'm not saying it is. It's the sport I like to watch more than any other. It's the one I've gotten into over years, and so it's what I follow. But I do think that's another positive thing, and I'm gonna talk on that for 1 second, and then we'll get back to our other content. But when we talk about dealing with our symptoms, we talk about dealing with the negativity, the hopelessness, the really dark holes that we wind up in. Like I've been in a pretty dark one here for a while, although I've now come out and I'm doing a lot better. It's those things that help you, and I think some things come at you from all different places. What I'm trying to say is the positive things that help to lift your spirits can come from anywhere, and sometimes it takes many of them. For me, one of those things is seasonal, and one of those seasonal things is football. I love the period from September 1st through January. That's like my favorite time of the year. I'm a fall guy and then winter guy before I am summer, spring. It's just who I am. And football kind of kicks that off. Football kicks in at the beginning of September and takes you all the way through that. So it's part of that. But then I got Halloween and we got Thanksgiving and we got Christmas and the decorations and the music and all that goes with that and the cooler temperatures, which I love, and snow coming in and the leaves falling. There's just and family get-togethers and all these things that help lift my spirits. So this time of the year is one of those times that my spirits get lifted. And football for me is one of those. So I think sports can do that for a lot of people. It doesn't have to be football. It can be soccer. It can be NBA, WNBA, LPGA. It can be whatever it is you get into. The World Cup was going on. You got, cricket in a lot of countries. You got basketball, of course, like we mentioned, NBA and WNBA and just all this stuff going on. There's so much excitement with these different groups. And it's not about the sport. It's not about the players even so. It's about, I think, tradition. It's about getting involved in something. It's about being part of something, I think is where the joy comes. For me, I grew up mostly in Kansas City. Part of my time was outside Chicago. And then grew up in Kansas City. I have 3 teams in football I follow: Kansas City Chiefs, Denver Broncos, and Chicago Bears. All places I've lived. Some people say, well, I can't be a fan of the Denver Broncos and the Kansas City Chiefs, considering they're arch rivals, but there's no rules, okay? I get to do whatever I want to. And I am a fan of both, although I'm more a fan of Chiefs because that's where I grew up. And so I have a lot of ties there. And I've followed that. And some of that legacy and the tradition and the people involved. And that makes me feel like I'm part of something. And I think that's a big part of where sports can help us sometimes, is becoming part of something, becoming part of a legacy or part of a team spirit, or following certain team members for a period of time. I mean, players, and seeing them progress or, fall apart and crash and burn. I've been lucky that my team has done really well lately. Won 3 Super Bowls in the last 4 years or whatever. So, and maybe might be into our first three-peat, which is 3 Super Bowls in a row this year. And that's exciting. That's exciting. But that wasn't always the case, And I've usually one of my teams is doing well, but there's going to be a period of time when you're going through. On baseball, I was a Cubs fan because I grew up, the beginning grade school was outside Chicago, and all the time I was a Cubs fan, they never won anything. So sometimes it's that side of the spectrum too. But what I'm trying to say is this is going to be a more positive podcast. And I want to talk a little bit about that positivity and where we find it and how we lift ourselves up and how we move forward and what we do when we get a window. And some of that is those joys you have in your life. Those things you find that you cling to, your family, the joys of watching your daughter or son do something for the first time, or get that, that first goal. Oh, I remember my grandfather's expression. My late grandfather died long ago when I was a pee-wee hockey player outside Chicago, and he came to see one of my games, and I got a hat trick. 3 goals in a pee-wee hockey game. I don't think I almost never scored a goal. I was usually defense. For some reason, I was offense on this game, and I got 3 goals in that game when my grandpa came to see me. And that was awesome. And those treasured memories that sports can bring to us. And I think sports can do so much good in bringing us together. And it's amazing. And it's really growing in so many different ways. And I think that's fantastic. So I'm a football fan. Do I like all the things the NFL does, and do I like some of the rules they're putting in place? And so, no, I don't. But it evolves, and everything evolves, and it's not always going to be what I want to follow. But I get into my team, I get into following the team, and I have a lot of fun doing that. So anyway, I think it's important for us to find those traditions, find those activities, those hobbies, those passions that you can become part of, and to allow those things. I think allow is a good word to use here, to allow those things to influence you, to lift your spirits, to make you feel like you're part of something, even distract you from some of the crap you're dealing with in the rest of your life. I think that's important. So tangent there. You know me and tangents. I love my tangents when they come along, but that's a tangent. So enough to say back to me because I talk about me a lot here. I'm not trying to intentionally do that, but back to me. I'm doing good. Hopefully you can hear it in my voice. Hopefully you can hear, things are much better here. My wife is still struggling a lot with the loss of her dad, as expected, and so is her mom, and that's still we got to work through that, and it's going to take several months to work through that, and I understand that. But on the outside of it, I'm just here to support her and trying to do that as much as I can, um, and do what I can to help. That I was up there last night playing cards with my wife and my mother-in-law, and had a great time. And that was the thing I used to do with both my father and mother-in-law was we played spades. Um, oh, probably 2 to 3 times a month or so, and we get together and we play these team spades. And I was always partner with her dad, and so I really miss him for so many things. But that's a piece of it. Again, that tradition, that belonging, and sometimes when you lose that, it can be negative. But outside of that, right now, things in our lives are going well. Murphy's doing great. He's laying over here, crashed out on the floor. Now he finally stopped chewing his bone, I think. Yeah. And so he's crashed out on the floor. He just got a bath yesterday. So he's this huge 75 pound of white and tan fur that is just you just kind of want to snuggle up with it and crash. So that's Murphy. I'll pull some pictures onto our site here at some point so y'all can see Murphy. But that's coming up. In fact, I know where I'll post those pictures first, and I'm going to talk about that here in a second. But it comes back again to things that can lift your spirits. I'm doing better, and honestly, a big part of that is let's go. Bart. Okay. When I try to say I'm doing better and I almost choked to death, probably isn't going to convince you that I'm doing better. Sorry about that. I ate a few almonds before I came down here, and I think a little piece of one of them was still in the back of my throat, and it just irritated the right place, and suddenly I had to cough. So that's all that was. I'm fine. Don't worry about it. But I'm doing better. The nerve pain and the foot pain I've had some mild, moderate occasionally, but I've not had the stabbing side of the foot pain for almost a month now. I mean, that's amazing. I was getting it once 2 to 3 times a day for a while, and then once a week or whatever, and it would come at random, and it was intense, and I never knew, and I couldn't figure out what caused it, and I went from doctor to doctor. If you weren't part of that, if you go back and listen, you'll see I went through this progression for months. This has been going on since March or April for me. It's mostly gone. I still put a little bit of this numbing lidocaine on at night in my foot just as precaution, but I'm using less and less and less, weaning myself off that. I don't know that it's really doing anything anymore. I still have some of the hyperalgesia, which is that little sensitivity to touch, but most of that's gone. Have a little bit of the pinpricks now and then, the paresthesia, but that's mostly gone. I'm doing a lot better. I'm doing a lot better, and I'm getting more exercise. I don't know still what the actual cause was, although talking to some of you lately, I'm getting some ideas. I think it was small fiber neuropathy triggered on by bind and maybe COVID, putting me through a wave of stuff. I do that. We have those cycles, and as with most of those waves, it eases, and we wind up in a window, and I'm approaching a window. I still got some symptoms. My tinnitus has kicked in again, but I'm used to that. I get some other symptoms that still I have and deal with. Some of the cognitive stuff is triggered in again, but God, those are things I've had for 10 years. I'm used to it. I don't mind those as much. The stabbing pain in my foot, I'm happy to get rid of. And I know many of you are dealing with really serious things right now, and I always want to make sure I let you know I understand. I've been there so many times. I get it, but I also want to celebrate. I want to celebrate. Like I mentioned the term allow earlier, like allowing the good in, the positivity in. And I think celebrate is another term that's really important here. When good things happen, at least this is me, and I think many of you have talked to me about similar things, we're we don't trust it. You know, we're careful not to celebrate or to feel good because we felt bad for so long. And we know that's coming back, or we believe that's coming back. And it would get into that kind of that cycle. And it's really, and I think we do ourselves harm because don't forget that our anxiety and our stress feeds our symptoms. We know that. That's one of the few things we know. And so the more anxious we are, the more symptoms or the more severe our symptoms are usually. And thus, if you can ease that anxiety by having positive things come in, then your symptoms will, most of the time, also ease to a degree. I'm not saying it fixes it, it doesn't cure it. We know that. But it can make a difference on the severity level, and that can be huge. That can be huge. So I think it's really important for us to allow the good in, to celebrate the good, to enjoy the good when it's happening. Sometimes things go your way, and right now I am there, and I am having a ball right now, and I want to celebrate that with you because I haven't done a lot of that lately. I haven't, and I want to do that with you because, hey, I am 10 years benzo free. 10 years and 1 month now, about almost 1 month, benzo free, and I'm still here. I'm living. I got a good life. I got an amazing wife and family, and and there's a lot of limitations, sure, and I still have some problems, sure, and I still get some waves, sure, and I don't know what the next thing is, sure. But I'm alive. I'm still here. I can still enjoy things. I still have people I care about. I want to do all this for me, and I want to do it all for them. And I want to make sure we keep moving forward. So when I do have these moments where I'm just enjoying, like when football's on the TV this weekend, our highs here in Colorado are supposed to be in the low 70s. That sounds awesome instead of the mid 90s, which they've been for like 4 months straight. So I'm looking forward to that. I love the cool weather when it comes in. Murphy is going to be so happy since he wears a fur coat here around, a really thick double layer fur coat. Ever see a Samoyed? He doesn't look like a Samoyed dog, but a Sammy. But if he kind of he has that thickness. It's like a golden coat, a golden retriever kind of thickness of a coat. That's a pretty good long-haired, thick coat. So anyway, we enjoy that, and I'm gonna celebrate these things. I'm gonna enjoy these things. Am I gonna be healthy through all of it? I don't know. My back hurts me today. I tried to get in the attic so I could to fix the antenna yesterday, and I pulled my back, I think, trying to get into the attic because it's harder to get through this place. It's a small hole, whatever. You don't need to know the details. I'm trying to get the antenna switched, so maybe I might get the Kansas City Chiefs game, which I'm not going to get, which I'm bummed. I try, but I don't usually get those out of market games. So anyway, so my back hurts. Big deal. Okay, I can deal with that. But I'm now riding my bike. I'm getting more exercise. I tell you, physical therapy, I think, has been a factor. I don't know what fixed my nerve pain. And I'm not saying fixed, I don't think it's gone. But what significantly has improved my nerve pain, I don't know. Odds are it's the cycles of bind. To be honest, that's probably odds are because I go through these cycles all the time. Something comes on, it can be 3 to 6 months on average, probably they last, and then they kind of ease up. But I also think this physical therapy I've been doing for my back and for my foot, it's been a combination, has helped too. And also just helps my overall health. So I'm doing those every day. I have about 15 minutes of exercises I do once or twice a day, and that just helps me. It stretches my back, it stretches my foot, it stretches my calf. It just keeps me limber. I think that's helping. I think that made a difference. And I can't tell you the number of people I have talked to lately who have had similar pain. I just talked to some gal the other day who had small fiber neuropathy, just like I did. And instantly we connected and we had the similar thing. And I talked to a couple guys I mentioned a little bit ago, I think on my last episode, who both had the cramping up of the foot and the tight muscles of the foot and the foot pain. I know I'm not alone when I'm talking to you all about this. Many of you have struggled with this too. What I want to tell you is it's temporary. Okay? It is temporary, and this stuff comes and it goes. And life is still good on the other side, even better. And I'm feeling great because I survived another one. Each one of these teaches me and strengthens me. Every wave I'm in teaches me and strengthens me. And if it doesn't, then you need to take a second look at what we're going through. Okay? These don't weaken us, they make us stronger. And these don't come without a gift. They come with a gift, and that is teaching you what you can deal with, how you deal with things, learning more about your body, learning more about your mind, learning more about how you handle difficulties in life. And I think that's a huge gain that we all need to recognize as we're going through trials in our lives, like bind, like benzodiazepine-induced neurological dysfunction, in case you don't know what bind is. Bind. And yeah, in case you all know, on research, we're still working really hard on this scoping review we're doing. This is the one where we took almost 11,000 studies out there and brought it down to 40 or so, and now we're reviewing those, and we're debating, going back and forth in our team about how we're writing this up and how we want to approach it. But we should get this published in a couple months, I think, and get it out there and hopefully get it in another peer-reviewed journal, and that'll be good. And that's going to be looking for things on bind within literature, and it's going to be cool. And we're working on still this other prescriber survey, and I'm still thinking about starting up another research. But right now those things are secondary. I don't mean secondary because I don't do them, but I mean they're not the thing that's primarily. Yeah, they're secondary to me. I still want to stay active in research, is what I'm saying. But my number one thing is this and our community. And I want to tease you on that a little bit. And I'm going to do so right after I pause this because Dee needs a bathroom break. Okay? Because, it's me, warts and all. That's who I am. That's how we do this. I share with you things. I'm not going to get gross. I'm not talking my sex life. I'm not talking details. That's going to be too much TMI. But things, unless it's directly related to what we're going through with benzos. In that case, I am wide open talking about things. But honestly, pelvic floor dysfunction, urinary difficulties is something many of us face. And so if I got to pause this and go use the restroom, I'm going to do so. And I'm going to come back and talk to you when I don't have to run to the bathroom. So I'll be right back. Oh, thank you. Thank you for letting me take that little break. But so I know I was going to move on to what I've been working on, and I'm going to do that here in a second. But I do want to finish up this. Before I do that, I'll end with that as my teaser, and I'll tell you what that's doing. But the focus of this one is just I'm trying to keep these single topic most of the time. I know I've been busy, I've been doing things, and a lot of it's been working on other stuff, which I'll talk about here in a second. But I just really want to emphasize on this one how our life is a roller coaster. It goes up and down. We have those ebbs and flows. We have those high tides and those low tides, and that's part of it. And I think the real challenge for most of us is surviving those low tides, surviving those dips in the roller coaster before we get those highs again. And I think that's where that positivity, that's where allowing the celebrations, allowing the good feelings, allowing the positive things that happen in your life to come through. Like I mentioned, I've always been a fan of fall and Christmas especially. I just love the season. I love all the things that come with it, the smells, the cooking, the pine. I love the lights at night, walking around our neighborhood and seeing all the different Christmas lights. The music, I love the music and putting up the Christmas tree and the traditions and the family and the friends. And I love all that. And I think that's something that cheers me up when I think of that. And that's a good thing. And we all have those things in our mind, things that make us happy, things that just the thought of something or a smell or a taste or whatever puts a smile on our face, at least for a little bit. And it's finding those things and allowing those things to happen in our lives. I think it's that stuff that helps get us through those dips and looking forward to those things helps us get through those dips. I couldn't travel through all this with my nerve pain and with my foot and my back and everything. And I'm really looking forward to getting back out on the road. And I think, and I think tied in with what we do here on the podcast and everything. And I'm really looking forward to that because I really want to create something where we're a community, and that's what's coming up here. And that also leads to these in-person meetups. And I want to do that more than anything. I want to come and talk to you all, and maybe we can record things together and we put them on the podcast, or we don't, or you just meet up and just say hi. It doesn't have to be. It's just this podcast and the Uneven podcast and our site has always been about. Okay, this is going to sound this is going to sound. Anyways, it's always been about you, and I know that's hard to absorb sometimes since I talk about me most of the time, and I know that, but I don't mean it that way. I think you all know that, and I hope I don't have a massive ego, because I really don't think I do. In fact, I usually have struggled with low self-esteem, so ego's not usually a thing I've had to deal with too much. I mean, I think we all do. And I know I talk about myself, and I enjoy talking about myself, and that's definitely something I do. What I'm saying, though, is it's your emails, your contact to me, it's your information, it's all this stuff over the years, working with you all, that has really created all of this. And I don't want that to change. And I think that's about to get a lot better. So we're going to head that way. But I want to, on a note before I go there, is just say thanks for everybody who's been sticking with me. I know I've been not producing much content at all, and lately, and that's just because I've been doing other things. And but I just want to say how much I appreciate you all, and how much I appreciate you all sticking with me. And know that I've never given up on this. It's been a long, rocky road, but I'm learning from each step I take, and I'm really excited about this next step. And let me tell you about this next step. And I've talked about this in the podcast, and I've hinted at it, and hell, I've even mentioned I'm building a community 2 years ago on the podcast. So what's the word for it? I'm going to have another one of those word, I don't know what you call it, blackouts or whatever, where I can't think of the word. But to be, to not believe me as I say this is I understand. Because I've talked about this coming. In fact, I was working with Doreen for a long time, developing this for a long time, and then finally I had all those health things and all those other stuff hit me, and I had my father-in-law and all this stuff, and I just had to stop because I couldn't do all this. And nothing on her whatsoever. That was entirely on me. We just had to take hiatus of that for a while because I couldn't do all that with all the stuff going on. I just had too much going on. But anyway, I was talking about something and I did that again. But I've always had this idea that I want to build this community. And I say online community because that's where we're starting with it, and that's where you start these days with communities. But I want it to branch out to where it's not just online, because I want to meet up with you all. I want to do some in-person courses and meetups and gatherings, and just build into that. And I really think we have the core of this. This all started with a book, Benzo Free, The World of Anti-Anxiety Drugs and the Reality of Withdrawal, which I published in 2018. Went into the first podcast, Benzo Free. Went to the second podcast, Uneven. Launched the website, Easing Anxiety. That all was involved in other things that I helped to co-found, like Benzodiazepine Action Work Group and training for benzodiazepine peer support personnel and research teams. And it just kept expanding in all these little pieces. But I believe all this stuff I'm doing here under the Easing Anxiety umbrella is leading to this, and I really am excited about this. So let me talk about it. And this is our community. And I'm just going to tease this really quickly. Here's the thing. You want to know more about our community and how to get involved and what's coming? tune in to our Uneven podcast. Yes, I'm going to record a second podcast later today, and that's going to be, in fact, probably soon after this one. And that one's going to tell you more about our community. Okay, I'm not going to do it all right here. I'm going to tell you to go check out that one. Okay, so the next podcast I release probably later today or tomorrow, so either Sunday or Monday. That'll be the one with all the with a lot of details about what's coming and the schedule and everything else. Let me just say here first is that I know it's hard to believe me that this is coming because I've talked about it before, but I have never done what I've done recently before, and that is I put on a big chunk of change. I bought into a year subscription to a high-end online membership software, and I did that about a little over a month ago. It is online. I have spent the last 2 months just focusing on, or month and a half, I guess, month and a half, just on that, working on it, developing it, figuring out, the guidelines for it, figuring out how it's going to be laid out, the groups for it, all this kind of stuff. I've been spending a lot of time on that, and so I am 110% in on this project, and I'm excited about it. And I think this is really going to be cool. I know it's going to start out small, and I know right now I've lost a following on Benzo Free Podcast and on Uneven. I know we don't have as many people listening right now because I haven't been able to keep the content coming for a while due to my physical and psychological limitations. That's life. But I'm not giving up, and I'm back now, and we're going to make this going forward, and I already have people on board working with me. So this is going to be something, and I'm really excited about it. So the thing is starting October 1st, I'll tease this to you, starting October 1st, this will be available to the public, and it's going to be entirely free through the end of the year. That's right. You join us anytime from October 1st to December 31st. For that period of time, it's free. We're not going to start charge for this service, which we will be charging, but I'm going to try to keep the cost, very moderate. We'll be charging for the service starting January 1st. And there's some good reasons to charge for it, and we'll get into that. I'm going to talk about that more on the Uneven podcast when that's coming up. But I just want to tell you that's coming, and I'm really excited about it. Let me look at my notes. I wrote down a few notes. It is going to be very beta, so when you tune into it, there's not a lot there yet, but what's cool is over the next 3 months, that's our build out. We're going to be building it out, and there's going to be some really interesting functions. What's also really cool about it is this is built on an entirely private network, this software, meaning Easing Anxiety and you all coming on board, we own our own data, okay? No ads. We'll never sell your data anywhere. No bots. We can control who's on this site, and we're going to have some straightforward guidelines. We're not too strict, but we want to make sure we just don't go down the rabbit hole of trolls and that kind of stuff. So we're going to try to keep this a friendly, respectful site, and I think we can do that. So I'm really excited about what we've done here. The infrastructure of the software we're using is robust. We can do all kinds of things on here, and I already have several of these things set up. So please check it out. October 1st is when we are going to be releasing this to the public. It'll be basic, but you can come on board, and and I'm going to talk about there's some benefits for joining us in the next 3 months. Go check us out on the Uneven podcast, the next episode, and you'll learn more about that. So that's it. I hope you'll come check that out. And that'll all link to Easing Anxiety. That new community will be called Uneven. Okay, I'm going with that name. It's the Uneven community. But don't worry, it's not because it's just on anxiety, like Uneven is more on or on over life choices. It's actually going to have groups within it dedicated to anxiety and groups dedicated to benzos. There's a whole group dedicated to benzos at that site. So that's not going anywhere. That's going to still be part of that. So anyway, I've said enough. I've said too much already. So go check out the next episode we have of Uneven on the Uneven podcast and learn about this site, how to sign up for it, where to find it. And then I'll also send out some reminders on our mailing list and other stuff like that and on our site. And I'll publish this out October 1st, so you'll see it all coming. I appreciate you all more than you know. Thank you all for your incredible patience, your incredible support, your incredible love you have given me over the years. And I hope this is what we've been leading to together and we can make this work. Okay, we can make this work. And I'm really excited about that. And I think you all will like it as we come on board. So learning more there later. I'm going to sign off now. But I'll be back. The podcast ain't going nowhere right now. I'll be back. Keep calm, taper slowly, and take care of yourself. I'll see you next time. Hey, this is Dee. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking out our podcast. I do need to remind everyone that this podcast is for informational purposes only and should never be considered medical, psychological, or professional health advice of any kind. You can read our full disclaimer on our website at easinganxiety.com/disclaimer. Also, if you or someone you know is dealing with significant mental health issues, please seek professional help. Resources can be found in our show notes and on our website at easinganxiety.com. Thanks again for stopping by, and remember, keep calm, taper slowly, and take care of yourself. I'll see you next time.